Hello and welcome to the preview video for December 6th. Now I'm recording this at night before I go to bed because Thursday mornings tend to be kind of crazy. So in order to alleviate from the craziness, and Tuesday morning's video, I wasn't really happy with how that turned out. So again, because Tuesdays are crazy, there's a lot of games, and then I'm trying to get everything done when we have stuff going on Tuesday mornings. So this way, it's easier for me to do it at night. So there you go. First up, Chicago, Vegas. Could you have two teams that are going faster in opposite directions? Yeah, probably, but not very many. Chicago is now 9-15-5, and there were a couple of comments in the comment section. You know what? I'm gonna say something. 9-14-5 was the record coming into tonight. And I saw people commenting 9-15-5, and it made me panic and think, wait, did I write down the wrong number for Chicago? Jerks. I'm just kidding. It made me look and wonder and go, oh, okay, so they're saying they'll be 9-15-5 after the game with Anaheim. That's fair, and it's true. So go buy yourself a lottery ticket. Vegas is 15-13-1, and Vegas has been excellent at home. And for the Golden Knights right now, this is absolutely their chance to build on their momentum and take advantage of a team that's going to be tired, disheartened. I think there's a lot of things wrong with Chicago, and I think they keep getting worse. You look at the Schmaltz trade, and I know Strome's been decent for them as a return, but you look at what Schmaltz has done in Arizona since he got there. And again, there definitely seems to be something going on with Chicago. Anyways, Blackhawks leading scorers, Patrick Kane with 13 goals and 18 assists. Taves, 12 goals, 11 assists. DeBrincat, 11 goals, 11 assists. Saad with 8 goals and 8 assists. Anisimov, 5 goals, 9 assists. Gustafsson, 5 goals, 7 assists. Cahoon, 3 goals, 8 assists. And Seabrook with 3 goals and 8 assists to round out the top 8 scorers for Chicago. Marchessault leads the Vegas Golden Knights with 10 goals, 11 assists. Carlson, 9 goals, 12 assists. Tuck with 8 goals and 12 assists. That's right. Eakin, 11 goals and 8 assists. Smith with 4 goals, 13 assists. Theodore, 4 goals, 12 assists. Pacioretty, 10 goals and 5 assists. And Miller with 2 goals and 10 assists. On the Chicago side of things, I would imagine Ward's going to start tomorrow because Crawford started tonight. Ward's 4-3-4 with a 3.91 goals against and an 888 save percentage. Crawford's 5-12-1 with a 3.16 goals against, 903 save percentage. It'll be Fleury in net because Subban's the backup for Vegas at 0-4, 4.02 goals against, 859 save percentage. Marc-Andre Fleury's 15-9-1 with a 2.4 goals against and a 912 save percentage. In their last 10, again, these teams are going quickly in opposite directions. Chicago's 2-7-1. They've lost 5 in a row. Vegas is 7-3, and they've won their last game. And right now, they look like a playoff team. They absolutely do. On the road, Chicago's 4-10-1, and at home, Vegas is an impressive 8-3-1. Versus the West, Chicago is now a woeful 5-10-3, and Vegas is 9-5-1. And there you go. The Magnets back on the board for Vegas Strong for a home game for Vegas. And I apologize it wasn't on there for the preview yesterday. Thankfully, they didn't lose that because that would have made me look like, whatever. But yeah, it's interesting to see how Vegas has turned things around. It's interesting in that they didn't need Pacioretty in the last game either, and they haven't needed Marchessault to score either. So there's a lot of depth scoring going on here, and of course Reeves will be in a spotlight as well for the fact he didn't get any kind of discipline out of this, the hit on Wilson. But you know what? The other thing that people seem to forget about Reeves, he's actually been a pretty good player for Vegas. This isn't just a matter of Reeves going there and just hitting and starting fights and getting penalty minutes. He has 6 goals, and he's been, with those 6 goals, a very productive and useful player on the ice. And I can't remember ever saying that about him in his career. And I'm just being honest. Next up, Minnesota. 15-10-2 coming off a win against Vancouver. Now they get the big test. Calgary, 17-9-2. If Minnesota's going to avoid the possibility of dropping out of the playoffs, remember, they are right now the number 2 wild card. They sit 1 point ahead of Vegas. So it is a precarious position that Minnesota finds themselves in. Don't kid yourself. And they absolutely are aware of it if you watch the game between them and Vancouver. There seemed to be a little more urgency in their game than there had been games before. Granlund leads them in scoring with 11 goals, 17 assists. Parise, 13 goals, 10 assists. Suter, 4 goals, 17 assists. Koivu, 4 goals, 17 assists. Stahl, 10 goals, 10 assists. Dumba, 10 goals, 9 assists. Zucker, 9 goals, 9 assists. And Spurgeon, 3 goals, 12 assists to round out their top 8 scorers. On the Calgary side, coming off that 9-6 game, the crazy game last night against Columbus, Gaudreau, 12 goals, 23 assists. Monahan, 17 goals, 16 assists. Tkachuk, 13 goals, 19 assists. Lindholm, 13 goals, 17 assists. Giordano, 3 goals, 27 assists. Backlund, 5 goals, 12 assists. Hanifin, 3 goals, 10 assists. And TJ Brody with 3 goals, 9 assists. The interesting thing to me is that right now the Flames are flirting with as many as 5 people having point-a-game records with them. And I have to think you'd probably need to look back to the 89 team to find that. Like, to find that many guys that can score a point a game, it has to be a long time ago that happened with the Flames. Goaltenders, I would expect Dubnyk here. This is a big game. 10-8-2, 2.68 goals against, 911 save percentage. Stalock's 5-2, 2.45 goals against, 913 save percentage. I expect Smith here because Riddick, I think, has lost the job to Smith again. Smith's 9-7-1, 3.12 goals against, 884 save percentage. Riddick, 8-2-1, 2.39 goals against, 919 save percentage. So his save percentage took a hit in that game against Columbus. In their last 10, Minnesota's 4-6. They won their last game. Calgary's 7-2-1, and they've won 3 in a row. They're looking to make it 4 tomorrow night. On the road, Minnesota's 7-6. At home, Calgary's 8-3-2. Versus the West, they're both impressive there. Minnesota's 13-6-1. And Calgary's 12-6-1. So, not much to choose there. I favor Calgary because of their home record. I favor Calgary because of their record in the last 10 games. And I think their scoring is impressive and somewhat intimidating. It is nice to see how many star franchise-type players there are in Canadian franchises right now. Because we went through a period there that seemed like all of the big names were south of the border. Now we've got a lot on the north of the border, and for those of us who wouldn't mind seeing a Stanley Cup in Canada for the first time since 1993, this might be a good crop of youngsters. This might be the generation where we see Canada starting to maybe own that trophy again. Maybe. I'm only giving it a maybe. Next up, New Jersey, 9-12-1 in against the Kings. These guys who are 10-17-1, and honestly, with the record they're putting up, they should go back to these jerseys from the 80s. It has been a long, tough year for LA. Their last loss had to be pretty tough for them as well. And now their test tomorrow night is, can they beat New Jersey, a team that has been absolutely hideous on the road? New Jersey has got a horrible road record. Their leading scorer in New Jersey is Taylor Hall with 8 goals, 19 assists. Palmieri's next with 12 goals, 10 assists. Hischier, 5 goals, 11 assists. Zajac, 8 goals, 7 assists. The same number for Coleman. Severson, 3 goals, 12 assists. Vatanen, 1 goal, 10 assists. And Johansson, with 5 goals and 5 assists, rounds out the top 8. On the LA side, Kopitar, 7 goals, 11 assists. And in their last game, the announcers were talking about how Kopitar's off to a rough start. Kopitar actually has been playing better lately. It's just he was so poor those first 10 games of the year that it's going to take a lot of numbers from him to prop himself back up to where people say, hey, he's having a good year. Dustin Brown is now second on the team in scoring with 8 goals, 7 assists. Doughty, 3 goals, 12 assists. Carter, 5 goals, 9 assists. They really need more out of Jeff Carter. Honestly, they need more goals out of Jeff Carter. Kovalchuk, 5 goals, 9 assists. Toffoli, 5 goals, 7 assists. Iafallo, 5 goals, 6 assists. And Martinez, who has now cracked the double digits in points, 3 goals and 7 assists for him. Goaltenders, I expect Kincaid. Kincaid's 9-7-5, 2.94 goals against, 906 save percentage. Your backup Schneider with an 0-5 record, 4.19 goals against, 862 save percentage. Is just a big ouch with Schneider's numbers. Jonathan Quick's 1-5-1, 3.29 goals against, 889 save percentage. This is a good spot to play Peterson. Peterson's 4-4, 2.41 goals against, 929 save percentage. That being said, I would be surprised if they don't ride Quick. I would be very surprised if Quick is not in the majority of their games from here. Campbell, 5-7, 2.33 goals against, 933 save percentage. And when I say majority, I'm talking like 5 out of 6, 6 out of 7 for Quick. In their last 10, New Jersey's 2-4-4. They've lost 6 in a row. LA's 4-6. They lost their last game. So, huzzah to the Devils and their chances tomorrow night. Because on the road, they're 2-10-1. At home, LA is 6-9-1. LA is the one California team that is having a really hard time making teams pay for going to California. Tonight we watched Anaheim and San Jose assert their home ice dominance, and LA has not been doing that this year. Versus the West, New Jersey's 3-2-2. Versus the East, LA's struggled there too. They're 5-6. But 5-6 compared to the record against the West is actually pretty good. So that's how rough of a season it's been for LA. It's been a very rough season for New Jersey. This is one of those games that I look at and say, somebody has to win. Absolutely, somebody has to win this game. I don't have any clue who's going to win it because both teams have been equally bad over their last little while. The one thing I will say is that New Jersey has more trouble defensively than does LA. The caveat with that is LA's also struggled to score. So, yeah, it's been a rough year for both. Both underachieving after playoff appearances last year. Next up, Detroit. Detroit is interesting to watch. 12-12-4 now, and they're always seemingly dealing with a lot of injuries. Not that anybody gives them any credit for what they've dealt with injuries or anything, because Detroit was expected to be bad. So people just see the bad record and they go, Detroit's just bad. But you have to wonder if they've been healthy the whole way through, how would things have been different? They're in against Toronto, who are 20-8. Now, I will say this. I want to throw one of these up here. And I'm going to explain why. So, there's a rivalry between Detroit and Toronto that's been there since the 80s. And I can remember when Detroit was good and Toronto would come up with victories against them. Because it was Detroit. And the hate was there. This, to me, you've got Nylander coming back. You've got all these expectations. Everybody's really excited. I could see Detroit going in and sneaking out a win tomorrow. Are they going to do it? I have no idea. Your guess is as good as mine. But to me, this does feel like a trap because you've got Toronto with this exceedingly awesome record and Detroit, who've been playing better than what their record states, and we'll get into that. Larkin's got 10 goals and 14 assists to lead Detroit in scoring. Nyquist, 6 goals, 17 assists. Athanasiou, 11 goals, 7 assists. Nielsen, 4 goals, 14 assists. Bertuzzi, 9 goals, 7 assists. Mantha, 9 goals, 5 assists. Green, 2 goals, 12 assists. And Cholowski, 4 goals, 8 assists. Marner leads Toronto by a country mile. 6 goals, 33 assists for 39 points. Tavares, 17 goals, 14 assists. Riley, 9 goals, 21 assists. Matthews, 15 goals, 8 assists. Kapanen, 10 goals, 9 assists. Kadri, 8 goals, 8 assists. Marleau, 7 goals, 9 assists. And Zach Hyman with 6 goals and 8 assists. When you look at goaltenders, I see Howard in this one. Absolutely. Bernier's 3-6, 3.35 goals against, 898 save percentage. Might be tempted to use him based on his history with Toronto, but I can't see them doing that. Howard's 9-6-4, 2.77 goals against, 920 save percentage. I expect Anderson here because Sparks doesn't play very often, although it does feel like a point where you should play Sparks because it's Detroit. They're not a playoff team. You should probably give Sparks a start. We'll see. Anderson 16-7, 2.32 goals against, 931 save percentage. Sparks is 4-1 with a 2.57 goals against and a 924 save percentage. Over their last 10, Detroit's been slumping. They're 4-4-2. They've lost their last 2. And Toronto's 8-2. They've won 5 in a row. On the road, Detroit struggles. They're 5-6-1, and at home, Toronto has really turned it around now. They're 9-5, and they've been scoring a bunch at home as well. Versus the East, Detroit is 8-3, and versus the East, Toronto is 9-5. So again, I don't have this up here meaning this is going to be a win for Detroit. I have that up there because this does feel like one of those games where everybody's going to be going, oh, Toronto should win this going away. And they should, probably. But I like Detroit's chances of pulling off an upset. And again, I know when people go, oh, Shannon said there would be. I'm not saying there will be. At all. This just feels like one of those games where Detroit will come out with an unexpected result. They've been doing that at times this year. Which is why there's still hope in Detroit that they might make a bit of a run out of it. Next up, Montreal and Ottawa. So this is a rematch of the game from last night. And Montreal really took it to Ottawa, and now it's in Ottawa for the back-to-back. Montreal's 13-10-5. Ottawa's now below 500 again at 12-13-3. This could be a very interesting matchup. There could be a lot of emotions in this one, especially if Montreal gets ahead early. I could see Ottawa going out there and trying to fire themselves up and fire up their bench and their fan base and all that. Because when you play a game in Ottawa against Montreal, a lot of the crowd's going to be wearing Ottawa or Montreal sweaters. And I know that happens in any Canadian city that Montreal plays in. But in Ottawa, it's always had this special feel to it. Even more so, I think, than Toronto. When you get into Ottawa, there's a lot of Montreal fans. And I've always felt like that probably cheeses off the Senators as much as anything else. Your leading scorer for Montreal is Max Domi with 13 goals, 17 assists. Jonathan Drouin, 10 goals, 15 assists. Tatar, 11 goals, 11 assists. Gallagher, 12 goals, 6 assists. Petrie, 3 goals, 15 assists. Shaw, 7 goals, 8 assists. Lankinen, 5 goals, 10 assists. Danault, 2 goals, 12 assists. On the Ottawa side of things, Duchesne, 12 goals, 22 assists. Chabot, 7 goals, 24 assists. Stone, 13 goals, 17 assists. Chris Tierney, 3 goals, 17 assists. Dzingel, 11 goals, 8 assists. Bobby Ryan, 6 goals, 12 assists. Bodker, 3 goals, 14 assists. And Brady Tkachuk with 9 goals and 7 assists. Goaltenders. I expect Price. Price played pretty darn well the other night. He's 9-8-4 now, 3.01 goals against, 899 save percentage. He's on the verge of going over 900 with a save percentage. Niemi, 4-2-1, 3.61 goals against, 893 save percentage as the backup. Anderson's been confirmed as the starter, and I already tweeted out, of course he is. Can we get him a backup? He's 11-10-3 with a 3.68 goals against, 904 save percentage. And just, you know, at this stage in his career, he loves the challenge. I know he does. But it's just brutal that he's playing as many games as he is. McKenna's the backup at 1-1 with a 4.66 goals against, 879 save percentage. Gotta give Anderson a night off at some point. Over their last 10, Montreal's 4-4-2. They won their last game. The Ottawa Senators are 5-5, and they lost their last game. On the road, Montreal's 5-4-3 at home. Ottawa's 9-4-2. Excellent home record. So that's why I'm kind of leaning towards Ottawa in this one. And because Montreal won the last game, I feel a bounce-back game from Ottawa is in order. Versus the East, Montreal's 8-6-5 versus the East. Ottawa's 9-8-1. So very similar numbers overall. They play a similar style of game. And the difference being that Ottawa tends to get outshot badly. And again, that could favor Montreal because there's some good shooters on this team. Better than they got credit for in the preseason, admittedly. And we'll see how they do against an Ottawa team that can give up a bushel of goals in a very short period of time. They've done it this year a few times. And it can be very frustrating to watch because you've got a lot of weapons in Ottawa that can score as well. So, again, a game that I'm leaning towards Ottawa in just because they've got such a solid home record. The road record of Montreal's is a little more sketchy, but if Montreal's going to start asserting themselves as still being a playoff team, this is one of those games they have to win to do it. Next up, the Colorado Avalanche. And their last game had to feel like a pretty big setback because, honestly, when you come back and you tie a score at 3 after you're down by 3, and then you still lose by 3 anyways, it has to be kind of rough. So the Avalanche are 16-7-5. They're in against the Florida Panthers, who are coming off of a 5-0 shutout last night against Boston. They're 11-10-5 now, and I keep waiting for Florida to get better. I do. I keep waiting for Florida to get back in this race, and they keep falling out of it every time they get back into it. So since they're a game above 500 right now, since it looked like in the last game they're starting to figure it out, I expect a full-on meltdown tomorrow against Colorado, and I say that as somebody who cheers for Florida. I don't say that for somebody who cheers against them. I have flat out said since last year, when they were in that race right up till the end, I really wanted to see Florida make it. I really wanted to see a good story for Florida. They lost out to New Jersey, and it was really frustrating to me because I knew that if Florida made the playoffs, not that it was bad that New Jersey made the playoffs, it wasn't. Fun story there too, but if Florida made the playoffs, I really think they could have made some noise there, and I don't think they would have gone out in 4 or 5. I think it would have been a very tough out to get Florida out. I think they could have scored an upset even. but we'll never know. And this year, they probably don't reach the playoffs. Your leading scorer for Colorado is, of course, Mikko Rantanen with 11 goals, 35 assists, 46 points. Not sure why I wrote 45 this morning, unless I was just remembering the stats he'd had the previous day. Nathan MacKinnon, 19 goals, 24 assists for him. Landeskog, 16 goals, 15 assists. Barrie, 4 goals, 17 assists. Soderberg, 9 goals, 10 assists. Kerfoot, 4 goals, 14 assists. Sam Girard, 2 goals, 10 assists for 12 points for him. Wilson, 7 goals, 3 assists for 10 points for him. Rounds out your top 8 for the Avalanche. On the Florida side of things, Huberdeau, 7 goals, 24 assists, having a very solid run right now. Dadonov's 13 goals, 14 assists. Hoffman, 14 goals, 12 assists. Barkov, 10 goals, 16 assists. Trocheck, 3 goals, 11 assists. Matheson, 2 goals, 10 assists. And Ekblad, 5 goals, 6 assists. And if anything, the last game reminds us all that Florida's problems when they lose haven't been a scoring problem. It's usually been goaltending and defense. When looking at goaltenders, I expect Varlamov tomorrow night. He's 10-6-3, 2.43 goals against, 923 save percentage. Grubauer 6-1-2, 3.06 goals against, 904 save percentage. You could put Grubauer in here and give Varlamov a night's rest, though. On the Florida side of things, I expect Luongo because he's had enough rest already. Reimer 5-6-3, 3.36 goals against, 893 save percentage. Luongo's improved his numbers again. 5-3 record now. 2.71 goals against, 914 save percentage. So Luongo, hot, cold, injured. Maybe now we're going through another hot period. Let's see if he can skip the cold and the injured this time. Over their last 10, Colorado's 7-1-2. They lost their last game. Florida's 4-4-2, which is a common record across the board. They're the third team that's had it, and they won their last game. And that 4-4-2 is shared with Montreal and Detroit. So those three teams are staying pretty similar in relation to each other, which has got to make Montreal fans happy because they're ahead of the other two. On the road, Colorado is now 10-5-2 at home. Florida's 6-4-3. So they're trying to get that record to a respectable number. And for Colorado, they're trying to improve on an already impressive number. Versus the East, Colorado's an impressive 9-3-2. Versus the West, Florida, not a lot of experience. Small sample size, 2-3-1. So we'll see how they do against a very heavily armed Colorado Avalanche team. More so than a Boston team that without Bergeron down the middle, it definitely makes Boston's attack a little more anemic. And for a team like Boston that has been so top heavy this season in its scoring, with Bergeron out, you really, really notice that now. So for Florida, they took advantage of that the last game. Now they've got to take advantage of maybe a tired road team in Colorado. We'll see tomorrow night, but now I got to change the boards. On to Boston and Tampa. Boston's record now is 14-9-4, and they are feeling their injuries. Absolutely. I am not going to use that as an excuse. I've had people tell me, my team, you should be nicer to them because they have all these injuries. Well, this team lost, but look at their injuries. Hey, I have not been easy on Boston this year at all. Even though they had 5-6 of their top blue liners out. I never took it easy on them. I never said, well, yeah, they lost that game, but most of their blue lines out, so that's why they lost. No. Are they feeling the injuries? Absolutely. Again, and as I mentioned before, you can't bet on everybody getting healthy. It's hockey. And very often the hockey gods decide, well, that team's going to have a bunch of injuries this year. And very often it's the Canucks. So people aren't exactly kind to Vancouver about injury problems. And honestly, Boston, I know injuries have played a role in this, but they are not playing their best hockey right now. And now they're going against the 21-7-1 Tampa Bay Lightning. I am nervous about this game. I am nervous about going in against a Tampa Bay team that honestly is a much better team than Boston right now. With Bergeron missing down the middle, it's just huge. Pasternak leads Boston in scoring with 19 goals, 11 assists. Bergeron, 9 goals, 17 assists. Marchand has also missed Bergeron a lot. He's got 7 goals and 17 assists now, 24 points in 27 games. And he was well above a point a game when Bergeron went out. Krejci, 2 goals, 17 assists. Krug with 12 assists. DeBrusk, 10 goals, 2 assists. Grzelcyk with 1 goal, 7 assists. Charlie McAvoy is still on the board with 1 goal, 5 assists. On the Tampa side, it is scary. Kucherov, 12 goals, 30 assists, and a 10-game point streak. Braden Point, 20 goals and 17 assists. Stamkos, 10 goals, 16 assists. Gourde, 10 goals, 13 assists. Miller, 6 goals, 14 assists. McDonough, 2 goals, 18 assists. Johnson, 11 goals, 8 assists. And Killorn with 5 goals, 9 assists. Palat's not even on that board right now due to the injuries he's had, but he's started looking better now that he's back. And we'll see if he ends up on the board sooner or later, but it just shows just how much depth there is there. And Joseph also isn't on that board, and he's having an excellent rookie season. Halak I would expect to be the starter because it's a big game. Halak's 8-4-2, 2.25 goals against, 931 save percentage. Tuukka Rask, 6-5-2, 2.59 goals against, 915 save percentage. Pasquale played well. I would expect Domingue in this one. And by played well, I mean he won. So even though, yeah, he allowed a bunch of goals, they beat Detroit. So you go, you know what? You have a 792 save percentage. You got the win. Good for you. And maybe this will be the only game he ever plays in the NHL. So he retires undefeated, that kind of thing. And there are goaltenders that do that go in, have a good record in an emergency basis, and then they never play again. And then you look at the record, you go, wow, this guy was undefeated at the NHL level. Good job. I expect to bang, though. Vasilevsky has a 9-3-1 record, 2.29 goals against, 927 save percentage. When he returns, Pasquale goes to the minors for good. He's 1-0 with a 4.62 goals against, 792 save percentage. Hey, again, I know people are like, he didn't play well. He won the game. And he did make some important saves against Detroit when it was 5-5. So he Grant Fuhred it. Domingue, 11-4, 3.14 goals against, 899 save percentage. By saying he Grant Fuhred it, I mean when you needed the save, he made it. 4-4-2 record over the last 10 for Boston. 8-2 record for Tampa over their last 10. They've won their last 2. There's just so many weapons on Tampa. On the road, Boston is now 5-6-4, which is troubling. And at home, Tampa's 11-4. Versus the East, Boston is 10-5-1 versus the East. Tampa is an insane 16-2. And I've been expecting a third loss somewhere. I've stopped speculating about it. I find it's better not to speculate about it. Next up, Islanders and Pittsburgh. So the New York Islanders likely fashion themselves as a playoff team right now. Their defense has got better. Their goaltending's been solid. While I don't see anybody as a huge fantasy superhero among their scorers, there's some depth there. There's some clutch scoring taking place when they need it. And again, when you have the defense and the goaltending, that's all you really need. They're 13-10-3. They're in against the 11-10-5 Pittsburgh Penguins, who we keep waiting for. We keep waiting on them to wake up and start winning like 7 or 8 in a row. Is it going to start now? Who knows? I don't have a clue with Pittsburgh. They're so weird. And now all this talk has come up again about maybe they're going to trade Kessel. I doubt it. On the Islanders side of things, Bailey has got 7 goals and 15 assists to lead them in scoring. So 7 goals, 15 assists for him. Lee, 10 goals, 11 assists. Barzal, 3 goals, 18 assists. Nelson, 9 goals, 10 assists. Filppula, 7 goals, 9 assists. Eberle, 6 goals, 7 assists. Mayfield, 3 goals, 10 assists. And Komarov with 3 goals and 8 assists to lead the way for the Islanders. On the Pittsburgh side of things, Malkin, 10 goals, 22 assists. Kessel, 10 goals, 19 assists. Crosby, 14 goals, 15 assists. Gensel, 12 goals, 10 assists. Letang, 5 goals, 17 assists. Quietly having an excellent season. Hornquist, 12 goals, 7 assists. Simone, 4 goals, 9 assists. And Alexiak, still on the board at 4 goals and 6 assists. Jamie Alexiak, one of the top 8 scorers for Pittsburgh. Who knew? Goaltenders, I expect Grace here. Grace is 9-5-1. 2.4 goals against, 925 save percentage. Leonard, 4-5-2. 2.79 goals against, 913 save percentage. I also expect a Smith in this one. He's 4-3. No, he's not. He is 7-4. Yeah, he's 7-4. I'm not sure why I got 4-3 up there. He's got a 2.49 goals against and a 923 save percentage. Murray's 4-5-1 with a 4.08 goals against, 877 save percentage. When Murray comes back, it's going to be very interesting to see what Pittsburgh does with their goaltending. Do they just send Jari back down? Jari may be the guy who makes that decision. Harder for them. He has an 0-1-1 record right now, 3.5 goals against, 887 save percentage. The other question you ask yourself with Murray is when he comes back, is he the starter or is DeSmith the starter? Has DeSmith played well enough while Murray's been out that you say, yep, he's the de facto starter? I don't know. Over their last 10, The Islanders are 5-4-1. They lost their last game over their last 10. Pittsburgh is the popular 4-4-2, tied with Boston and 3 other Atlantic teams, and they won their last game. On the road, the Islanders are 6-6-1 at home. Pittsburgh's now 6-6-2, so their home record's getting better, but it's still not where they'd like it to be. Versus the East, the Islanders are 10-4-3. Versus the East, Pittsburgh is 3-9-4. So that is a major problem. They've only won 3 out of 16 games against the Eastern Conference. You don't win a lot of games when that's your record. You don't end up making the playoffs when that's your record. They have to even things up against the East starting with tomorrow night. You just can't. Can't make the playoffs if you can't play against your own conference. It's not a thing. Never has been. All right. Next up, we are looking at Columbus and Philly. Columbus is 15-10-2. Philly is 11-12-2. Philly needs this. So does Columbus. Columbus coming off that 9-6 loss. And for Philly, they're trying to get back to an even record. They've got a new GM who's going to be evaluating talent. And if you don't want to be on your bus or on a cab or the bus going to the airport to get flown out to some other city, you're going to want to play well starting now. Atkinson leads the Columbus Blue Jackets in scoring with 19 goals, 11 assists. Panarin, 7 goals, 22 assists. Dubois, 13 goals, 12 assists. Foligno, 7 goals, 9 assists. Werenski, 5 goals, 11 assists. Anderson, 12 goals, 3 assists. Murray, 1 goal, 14 assists. That's right. Ryan Murray's having a good year. Wenberg, 1 goal, 14 assists. On the Philly side of things, Giroux, a guy who isn't worried about getting traded. 9 goals, 21 assists. Voracek, also not worried. 7 goals, 13 assists. Couturier, same boat. 10 goals, 9 assists. Konechny, he's not going anywhere. 8 goals, 8 assists. Simmons might end up going somewhere. 9 goals, 4 assists for him. He's an unrestricted free agent at the end of the year. And he may be a piece that Fletcher looks to put out there early and see what he can get back. Lindblom, 4 goals, 7 assists. Gostisbehere, 3 goals and 8 assists for Gostisbehere. And would you consider moving him if you're a new GM? Would you look at him and say, you know what, our blue line's been, I don't know. But is he the guy that if you look at Provorov as being the guy that leads your blue line, do you maybe look at Ghost and say, we can get a lot for him? It'll be interesting to see what they do with him. Lawton, 6 goals and 4 assists because, hey, 11 points for Ghost in 25 games. Is he really getting to that next level? Or can you sell somebody on his potential to get to that level, and do you take that risk? Anyways, just speaking outside the box, I don't know anything about that. Bobrovsky, I would expect to start the next game to try to salvage himself from his last one. Although Korpisalo could start, he's 5-1-2, 3.75 goals against, 883 save percentage. Bobrovsky with that 8 goals against by Calgary, yeah, he's down to 10-9 with a 3.04 goals against, 901 save percentage. One game like that destroys all your numbers. On the Philly side of things, Stolarz will have the net until Elliott's back, I would think. Elliott 6-7, 2.59 goals against, 911 save percentage. Stolarz 1-1, 2.88 goals against, 912 save percentage. Over their last 10, Columbus is 6-4. They've lost 2 in a row. The Flyers are 4-5-1. They lost their last game. On the road, Columbus is 8-5-1. At home, Philly is 5-7-1. For that reason, I'm leaning towards Columbus in this one. Versus the East, Columbus is 9-6-1. Philadelphia is 5-8-1. So all the numbers would seem to point towards Columbus. They seem to have the better goaltending, and they probably come in with a bigger chip on their shoulder, which can go either way, I guess. Really, I think the first 5 minutes of this game could be a big decider. That being said, no lead is safe now, so I don't know that necessarily is as true in hockey as it was. Leads are just getting obliterated, and we're into December. We're at that part of the year now where that sloppy defense really shouldn't be happening, and yet it still is. Next up, Washington. One of those teams that's dealt with blowing a big lead. They're in against Arizona. This is, again, a huge proving ground for Arizona. They beat Washington once this season. Now, they did that with Darcy Kemper. Now it'll be Aiden Hill who gets a shot at it. On the Washington side of things, they're 15-9-3. On the Coyotes side, they're 13-11-2. Ovechkin leads Washington in scoring with 20 goals and 13 assists. Backstrom, 10 goals, 23 assists. Carlson, 5 goals, 24 assists. Kuznetsov is up to 7 goals, 18 assists for 25 points. Jacob Vrana, 8 goals, 8 assists. Connolly, 4 goals, 12 assists. Oshie, 9 goals, 5 assists. And Wilson, who's not going to be playing in this game, has 8 goals and 6 assists. On the Arizona side of things, Keller, 8 goals, 11 assists. Schmaltz, 4 goals, 12 assists. He's now number 2 on their scoring list. Ekman Larson, 2 goals, 13 assists. Stepan, 6 goals, 6 assists. Hannah Stroza, 4 goals, 8 assists. Grabner, 6 goals, 5 assists. And Richardson, 7 goals, 3 assists. Galchenyuk has been stuck at 3 goals and 7 assists for a while. We'll see how things work out for him. Schmaltz has taken that number 1 center spot. I'm starting to look at Galchenyuk and wonder how long he's going to be a Coyote. And I mean that. I do. I look at him, and again, much like with Ghost over with Philly, you look at a guy like Galchenyuk, you know what? We could probably still sell people on his potential. So if Arizona doesn't see it working out, Chayka doesn't seem like a guy who spends a lot of time worrying about that stuff. He'll just move you back out. Goaltenders, I expect Copley in this one. But again, I'm not sure. Holtby's 10-7-2, 3.00 goals against, 907 save percentage. Copley's 5-2-1, 3.06 goals against, 899 save percentage. Aiden Hill is 4-0, 0.56 goals against, 977 save percentage. I think those numbers will get to a human level soon. Ronta's 5-6 with a 2.88 goals against, 906 save percentage. Darcy Kemper, 4-5-2 with a 2.71 goals against and a 914 save percentage. Over their last 10, Washington 7-3, but they've lost their last 2. Over their last 10, Arizona is 5-4-1. I almost said Phoenix. They've won 4 in a row. So 4 wins in a row. We'll see if that starts bringing the crowds out. I did a video earlier where I talked about the attendance. The attendance figures I pulled from Hockey Database, apparently they were wrong. Apparently on ESPN it's down to 13,095 or something like that. Either way, I think a winning streak, I think getting into a playoff spot would help the attendance numbers a lot in Arizona. I can't help but think that would at least bring them up a little bit. 7-5-1 is the record of the Capitals on the road. At home, Arizona's 6-6-1 versus the West. Washington 7-5-1 versus the East. Arizona's 5-5-1. This is a more evenly matched game than it may look. I know that Washington has that explosive talent, that explosive scoring that is lacked by Arizona. But Arizona's special teams on both sides appear to be improving. Not as much with the penalty kill. The penalty kill's been pretty solid through the whole year, but the power play seems to be improving. Adding Schmaltz seems to have made a bit of a difference there. And we'll see if that continues against the Washington Capitals team that should come in with an axe to grind after losing that game in Vegas. So this could be a physical affair. I'm expecting a physical affair between these two teams, and it could be a ton of fun to watch. So there you go. And last but not least, Nashville 19-8-1. They're in against the 11-6-3, crashing and burning faster than any team I can remember in recent history. Vancouver, remember when they were 10-6-2? Neither do they. Now they're 11-16-3. Your leading scorers for Nashville: Johansson, 5 goals, 19 assists. Forsberg, 14 goals, 8 assists. Yossi, 5 goals, 14 assists. Ekholm, 3 goals, 14 assists. Turris, 5 goals, 11 assists. Fiala, 5 goals, 10 assists. Smith, 7 goals, 7 assists. Arvidsson, 8 goals and 5 assists to round out your top 8 scorers for the Nashville Predators. On Vancouver's side, Horvat, 12 goals, 13 assists. He will take almost every face-off tomorrow. If you're a Nashville fan, watch the game, and I'm telling you, he will take almost every face-off. Pettersson, 13 goals, 10 assists. Goldobin, 4 goals, 12 assists. I would imagine he'll be back in the lineup tomorrow. For people who are upset about Goldie not getting into the last game, his stats have not been great over the last few weeks. Besser, 6 goals, 8 assists. Vertanen, 8 goals, 4 assists. Eriksson, 4 goals, 8 assists. Granlund, 5 goals, 6 assists. And Hutton, 4 goals, 6 assists. And if you say, well, nobody's had good stats over the last few weeks, touche. Rinne, I would expect to start because Nashville has no mercy. Saros is 7-4, 3.29 goals against, 891 save percentage. Rinne's 12-4-1, 1.81 goals against, 935 save percentage. I would expect Markstrom here for Vancouver. He's 8-9-3, 3.31 goals against, 897 save percentage. Nilsson's now 3-6 with a 2.8 goals against, 904 save percentage. Remember when he was 3-0? It hasn't been great since he came back from injury, and it's making me wonder just how healthy he actually is. It is. Over their last 10, the Predators are 6-4. They won their last 2. Vancouver is 1-8-1. They've lost 4 in a row. They've lost 12 out of 13 now. It is ugly. Just ugly. On the road, Nashville's 8-3-1. At home, Vancouver's 5-7-1. So if you've gone to all 13 games for the Canucks at home this year, you've seen 5 wins. Probably not a happy camper. Versus the West, Nashville's 11-8-1. Versus the West, Vancouver is 6-10-1. So again, Western Conference teams, they've won 6 out of 17 games. For Vancouver, this is game number 31. It has been a long season for Vancouver already, and we're not even halfway done. I don't know. This could be one of those ugly games. Absolutely could be one of those ugly games. And I don't want it to be, because it's already been a rough enough season for Canucks fans as it is. But this could be an ugly game. So there you go. The Canucks at home against the Predators. Nashville looking to assert themselves as the best team in the West, one of the best teams in the league, and the Canucks trying desperately to turn things around at home against an elite team that is one of the best coached, with probably the best goaltender in the league. We'll see how that turns out for them. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.